Hi, long range hunting. Today we're going to be covering spotting for long range hunting and target practice. Now, whether you're at the range and you're training through the off season for your next big hunt, or you're out in the field spotting for a friend, hunting partner, whatever the case might be, or you're out there yourself just simply hunting. Spotting rounds, whether it's a miss or an impact, is very vital for that data that we need, whether we know if we got a good shot, if we got a bad shot. A nice way to do it is to actually record it. I'm recording a lot of my stuff now, and being able to play that back and see it can really help. If you're working as a team, the spotter generally has the best eyes as far as that. They usually generally have, a spotting scope. They have a larger field of view. They're able to watch it without being interrupted by recoil. Depending on your gun, you're going to have, that recoil, and then you're coming back into it and catching maybe the last part and being able to see that impact. But the spotter can watch trace throughout the entire flight path. Now, what is trace and what is splash? And those are the things that we're looking for. Now, trace is that bullet under magnification. So when we're on our spotting scope or our binos, what we're seeing is that bullet actually flying through the air, and we can follow that path all the way into the target. Now, how does that happen? It's as that bullet is traveling through those different layers of air, you can see it through the light reflecting off of that bullet, and it creates almost a wake. So easy analogy to think about is a boat. So if you are out in the water or you're on the beach and you see a boat go flying by, it creates a wake behind it. It's not quite the same thing, but that's a good analogy to see what you're looking at. And what you're doing is you're seeing that bullet going through those different layers of air, and you're seeing it leave a path behind. Same thing with the jet. You see a jet, you see that trail behind it, but it's temporary. But you're able to watch that wake and follow it in, and you can see if you missed over, under, right, left. Now, depending on conditions, trace you can't always see. Air density has a lot to do with it. The denser the air, the better you are. As far as, Badlands, I trained for years at Badlands. I've shot out there a lot. And it's actually weird. In the morning when the air is densest, that's the best time to see it. Once you hit 10 o'clock, trace pretty much disappears. And so now we know that from shooting out there a ton. So your best time to be gathering data is before 10 o'clock. Depending on conditions, and especially because, again, it's that light reflecting off the bullet, there are times like this where you can actually see the bullet itself.
Perfect. Perfect. Good shot.
Now, that's pretty cool, right? Is that what you're always going to see? No. Are there times with good enough glass and the right conditions that you can actually capture the bullet itself? Not only the wake, but seeing the bullet, usually the back of the bullet. There are times you can do it. Now, depending on what cartridge you're using and caliber, is going to have a major effect on what trace is going to be seen. Looking at a small, 6mm versus a 338 is going to make a much different wake size just because that bullet itself. Different days are going to give you different results. Some days you're going to have great trace and some days you're not going to have great trace, where you're really getting a nice wake. It's going in. You can follow the entire flight path of the bullet. You're going to have other days where it's harder to pick up. The better quality glass you have, the better trace you're going to be able to see, even in those worse conditions. There's days that you're just not going to be able to pick up trace, period. Now, how do we focus for trace? Now, what we want to do is, whether it's a spotting scope or it's your binoculars, what you want to do is focus on the target and get it crystal clear. And then what you want to do is back off a quarter turn counterclockwise. That's going to set you about 3/4 of the way to the target at the height of your parabolic curve. And from there, you can follow that flight path in and see. Now, you can tweak a little bit so that way you're getting the entire flight path of the bullet into the target, which is the important part. Now, the biggest problem I see with people is when they're trying to watch for trace or splash, they say, oh, well, I can't figure out how to do it. I've adjusted how you said, I focused in on the target, got it crystal clear, I backed off, and I still can't see it. Well, the problem is what they're doing is they're hard focusing on that target, looking for that impact. And it's not what you want to do. You want to actually soft focus. And so you want to just focus on that general area, soft focus, especially above the target, depending on your distance. But what you're going to do is you're going to soft focus, and then you'll be able to pick up, because if you're focused on the target, you're not going to be able to really catch this right here. But if you're just generally focused, you'll pick this up, and then you can follow it into the target. So it's important that you soft focus. A lot of people tend to target focus. It's the same thing with, shooting a rifle. Instead of focusing on the reticle, they focus on the target, and the reticle's doing stuff that they don't know about. It's the same thing, but you need to do a nice soft focus on where that bullet is going to be on that soft focus, which is going to be generally, unless you're at close range, it's going to be up above the target. So give a nice soft focus, and that's how you're going to pick up trace. Now, the other way we do this is splash, because we're not always able to see trace depending on the environmental conditions. Now, what splash is just that. It's the splash of the bullet as it impacts. Now, if you're on dirt, you can see a big dirt cloud come up. If you're in mud, you can see mud spray up. If you hit the target and it's painted, you can see paint spray. So there's different things, but just like trace, there's certain conditions where you're not going to be able to see it. Tall grass is terrible unless it's really, really dry dirt. And that dirt cloud comes up even above the grass. But even then it's deceiving, because you're not really getting that true impact. You're seeing it in a general area. And so certain vegetation, you can have days where it's dry and it's going to give you a major dust cloud. And then if it's soaking wet, you're not going to get anything. It's just going to go into the mud. So it's one of those things that both is ideal. One or the other is okay, but it's one of those things that it's what's going to benefit you the most. Sorry for any jet noise. I normally film this at night. I'm trying to do it right now, but the Blue Angels are flying over, so bear with me. Now, ideally, you're going to have both, but it's one of those things that we need to practice and practice and practice on the range. Every time we're out there, we need to learn to spot this, because knowledge is power, and knowing where your bullet goes not only will save you ammo and time, but get you quicker corrections onto target. Again, and that's, it's vital on the range, because the range is where we set those limitations. That's where we push the limits and find out what we are capable of in all different conditions. You don't even have to be shooting. That's a misconception people have, that they think, oh, well, in order to get better, in order to train, I have to spend money. I have to go out to the range and fire a bunch of rounds and this and that and the other. You don't. If you really want to get good at spotting, even just improve your skills as a long-range marksman, you don't even have to fire a round. Not only is there dry firing, but just go to the range. Bring your spotting skill, bring your binos. There are plenty of shooters there who will gladly have somebody spot for them, especially the newer guys. And you can learn from different cartridges, bullets, and you can learn what wind is going to affect it. So you can study wind. You can see how much it affects it. Ask them questions. What's your bullet? What's the BC? What's your muzzle velocity? And you can see those different distances, and you can sit there all day. It doesn't cost you a thing, and you can spot and learn an incredible amount of knowledge. Now, we have a lot of footage here. Just enjoy it. I've shown you a couple so far of, different, splash, trace, good, bad, where you can actually see the bullet in flight. And so I have a bunch more here that you can watch. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it's helped. This is simply a redo of some of the old videos now that we have better quality and more footage. So everybody stay safe out there. Happy hunting.